Hello there, my name is Nate the Effing Great, and welcome to day 5 of the 12 days of bookings, you guys, where I take a storyline, I rebook it, rewrite it, because I'm an effing genius, no ding required. So, for this one, it is actually a fan request. I believe it was done by Mr. Fretz, who asked me to rebook WrestleMania 15. Now, for the most part, I thought WrestleMania 15 was a pretty good show. The problem was that there were just some matches that just really didn't make that much in the way of sense. There were a couple matches that I just thought to myself, well, I mean, no, just no. I mean, let's go through like the actual card of what went down. During the heat matches, we had Jacqueline defeating Ivory. Okay. We had a battle royal to determine the number 1 contenders for the tag team titles, in which every tag team was involved, but then they just decide, the last 2 members were going to get a tag team title shot, which was won by D'Lo Brown and Test. Okay. We go into the main card, in which we had Billy Gunn defending his Hardcore title against Hardcore Holly and Al Snow. Hardcore Holly won that matchup. Okay, again. Then we had that weird tag match that only lasted for about 4 minutes, with Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart taking on D'Lo Brown and Test because reasons? I don't know. Then we had the Brawl for All matchup, in which Bart Gunn got defeated by Butterbean in 35 seconds, which, okay, that made sort of sense in a way. I don't know. Mankind and Big Show fought for the opportunity to be the special guest referee for the main event, in which Big Show got himself disqualified. What? What? Then we had a 4 corners elimination matchup for the IC title, in which Road Dogg defeated Goldust, Ken Shamrock, and Val Venus. But what? We had Kane defeating Triple H by disqualification after Chyna turned on Kane and rejoined with Triple H in what was the weirdest way to do that. I don't understand it. No. We had the women's title matchup, in which we had Sable versus Tori, in which Sable won. I really did not enjoy that matchup whatsoever. We had Shane McMahon defending his European title against X-Pac. Triple H turned on them to join the corporation. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I don't know, it just didn't really make too much sense. Undertaker defeated Big Boss Man in a Hell in a Cell matchup, which was dubbed one of the worst WrestleMania matches probably ever, and it got really uncomfortable when they did that whole hanging Boss Man by the Hell in a Cell deal. Just, I don't get it. I really don't. Then we had that awesome main event, in which it was a no DQ matchup for the WWE Championship, in which Stone Cold Steve Austin defeated The Rock. Okay, so for the most part, this card was actually pretty decent. It's just that it had a few hiccups every now and then. Like, for instance, they had that deal in which the New Age Outlaws were separated and they decided to be a part of a weird, like, singles deal. Then, of course, we had that weird tag team title situation. There was just so much potential that they could do, in which they could have created so many great good matches, but they kind of went in a weird direction. I don't know. And then they also had everything going on with the corporation and DX and everything that went on with Ministry. Just one of those things where it's like you could have had like 3 good factions involved and then kind of work on it just a little bit more. But that's just my opinion. So the question is, could I do it better? I think I could. Alright, so let's start off with the matchups that start the show. Alright, so I'm not going to go into too many of the matches that went on Heat. Honestly, I would put Tori versus Sable on the Heat show because honestly that was not one of those really good matches, and it really had a weird build-up, and there's really no telling what was going to go on with that. It was one of those matches where it was you had to know that Sable was not going to deliver that much, so why put her on that card? I don't know. Alright, so the first matchup that's going to start off the card is going to be an Iron Man match. Now I know, it seems a little weird because the second ever Iron Man match wouldn't be taking place until about a year later, roughly, because that's when Triple H and Rock had their deal. But I figured to myself, you know what? Let's just do something different. Let's just have some fun with this. We're going to have an Iron Man match for the Hardcore Championship, in which Hardcore Holly takes on the champion Al Snow. Honestly, they have some really good chemistry together. This is during the time when Al Snow was really, really good in the ring. Let's capitalize off of that. And let's have these two guys just absolutely do everything that they can. Go balls to the walls. Just go absolutely insane with these guys. You have Al Snow doing his high-flying deals. You have Hardcore Holly bringing out a little bit of his power game. It actually gets tied up 2-2 until the last minute. We see Hardcore Holly able to counter Al Snow's moonsault attempt into an Alabama Slam. I just think that would be a really cool move to try and counter. And doing it the right way, I think it could happen pretty well. We see him hit the Alabama Slam, like I said, maybe through a table, just to make it hardcore-like. And we see Hardcore Holly picking up the championship. I really like the fact that they have this chemistry between the two of them. And it makes sense to have a hot potato deal between the two of them because it keeps the rivalry going. So Hardcore Holly picks up the Hardcore Championship at WrestleMania. Next matchup here would be a four-way matchup for the WWE Tag Team Championships, in which the New Age Outlaws, the Acolytes, and Legion of Doom would challenge Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart. Now, here's the thing about this is that I really want to just preface this on the fact that they have those three factions on here. So you have two of those factions involved in this matchup. You have DX as well as the Ministry. We also have two teams that are really not favoring or siding with anyone, that being LOD and Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart. So it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, okay, well, who's going to, pick up the victory? Are they going to give a victory to, the Ministry? Are they going to give a victory to the corporation? Is it going to be going to DX? Kind of like one of those things. It's not like a bragging rights deal. It's just one of those things where it's like, okay, this side has power going into, Raw after WrestleMania. Kind of one of those situations. But in this matchup, Jeff Jarrett and Owen Hart actually retain their championships by pinning the New Age Outlaws. This will, again, really, get them going for a feud later on in the future. And, yeah, I think it would just be a really good matchup between all four of these guys. We get a little bit of a segment where Bart Gunn comes out, and the whole thing with the Brawl for All, it doesn't happen on WrestleMania. That was just 35 seconds. That was just not always. I would honestly probably put it to the pre-show, and I would actually have Bart, or even have it on Raw, where they just have that 35-second deal. Hopefully Bart Gunn does not suffer a injury. But then we have Bart Gunn come out. He's just saying, I want a rematch against Butterbean because that was just a deal. Let's have a matchup right here. Then out comes Dr. Death, Steve Williams, I believe his name is. He comes out, and he, of course, is basically talking about, hey, don't forget that you were the one that took me out of this tournament in the first place, and I want to get my revenge. Bart Gunn is, of course, just thinking, yeah, whatever. He goes for a punch. Dr. Death ducks underneath it, knocks out Bart Gunn with the KO punch. So we kind of get a rivalry between the two of them. We're kind of building it up with this matchup here. All right. So we then move on to the Intercontinental Championship match, in which we do not have a four-way matchup between these matchup. We actually have a matchup between Ken Shamrock and the champion, Val Venus. Val Venus actually pinned Cam Shamrock to become the champion. So we kind of make this the ultimate rematch. And if you remember that Ken Shamrock's sister, Ryan Shamrock, has been doing a little bit of a flirtatious deal, a little bit of a relationship between her and Val Venus. So we're kind of building that up just a little bit. But that doesn't really start until after Val Venus wins the Intercontinental Championship. So we get the matchup at WrestleMania. Ken Shamrock and Val Venus, they do a really great job just working each other over. We see Val Venus go for the money shot, but Ryan Shamrock gets involved while the referee is distracted, costs Val Venus the matchup. Ken Shamrock locks in the ankle lock and forces Val Venus to tap out. Ken Shamrock wins the Intercontinental Championship, and we see just a nice little hug between brother and sister. Nothing more, nothing less. Just a nice little embrace where they're basically saying, hey, we outsmarted you. And it's one of the situations where Ryan Shamrock actually says, hey, I played you because you weren't supposed to win the title. That's my brother's belt, and I love my brother. I'm going to make sure that he's champion for a long, long time. So it's kind of one of those family deals. It just feels good, you know? And it doesn't get weird until Ken Shamrock, I think, made a comment about, you know what, I'm not even going to go there. All right, so we go into the next matchup, which is Triple H versus Kane. I do apologize. I have a dog that's playing with chew toys right now, so it might get a little distracting for a while, but we'll see what happens. So we get Triple H versus Kane, where we actually get a nice definitive finish between the two of them. We still have Chyna interfering, but she actually does a fireball to the face of Kane while the referee is again distracted. Triple H hits the pedigree on Kane, pinning him 1, 2, 3. And again, Chyna has joined back up with Triple H. But here's the thing. I'm going to mention this. They don't join the corporation tonight. No. There's going to be a nice little future storyline that I think would really benefit them. And I will talk about that in one of my future bookings. So that happens, and it seems like, DX is kind of getting a little bit of an interesting victory every now and then. So, yeah, it's kind of nice to give them a little bit more of a run because the fact is they are winning. So we get the next matchup, which is the winner becomes the guest referee. We have Mankind versus Big Show. And in this matchup, Big Show dominates. He just absolutely destroys Mankind. Hits a massive chokeslam on him. 1, 2, 3. Big Show picks up the victory. But Big Show is not finished. He actually attacks Mankind again and again and again. Chokeslam after chokeslam. Referee is just saying, you know what? Nope, we're not doing this. So he reverses the decision, and Mankind gets the victory, in which Big Show is just saying, okay, all right, fine. He picks up Mankind again, chokeslams him, and he chokeslams him through the Spanish announce table, seemingly taking him out of the matchup. So he is basically not going to be involved in the match with the matchup in the main event. So we have that going. Next up, we have the European Championship, in which we have X-Pac defending his title against the Big Boss Man. Yes, we're completely avoiding the idea of, the idea of Big Boss Man versus The Undertaker. No. There's something different that's going to be going on there. So the European Championship is one of those titles that they, again, want to bring back to the corporation. And Big Boss Man is definitely trying very hard to win it from X-Pac. And he assaults X-Pac. He just really brutalizes him. He really does everything that he can to make sure that this is going to go with him. But X-Pac, he's able to find a way. He actually does a victory roll to Big Boss Man to retain the championship. So DX is definitely getting a bit of an interesting, I would say, push here. It's one of those things where they're kind of doing a great job with that. So, yeah, it's kind of cool. Next matchup here would be the Hell in the Cell matchup. The Undertaker versus Shane McMahon. Now, Adam Blampier, when he used to work at Wall Culture, actually did this deal where he rebooked the higher power. And one thing that I really liked was the storyline that he had where it was Undertaker versus Shane McMahon inside the Hell in a Cell. Having that matchup here at WrestleMania 15 would be better than having it at WrestleMania 32. So, yeah, that's what we're going to really be going with. So, in this matchup, Undertaker picks up the victory, and he also takes Shane McMahon away. Why? Because that's going to be for a future storyline. Kind of taking a little bit of a page from Adam Blampier, but at the same time, might be kind of cool. So, yeah, you'll have to wait and see. Next matchup we have is kind of a wrestler matchup. It's going to be one of those matches where you're just basically like, okay, we're getting time to rest, we're getting time to get ready for the main event, and that is Pat Patterson and Gerald Briscoe taking on the Broods, Edge and Christian. This is not too crazy. This is just these four guys just kind of doing it a little bit of a filler matchup. The Brood wins. It's one of those things where, Edge and Christian, they're going to slowly become a big deal, a really big tag team, especially building into 2000. And you just don't want to hurt that by having them lose to two old men. I'm sorry. So, yeah, like I said, the Brood wins, bottom line. We go on to the main event, which is the WWE Championship matchup between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. The thing about it is, I wouldn't change a thing. I would keep everything about that main event the same. I would make sure that nothing is different, and it just makes more sense to me. So, yeah, that's how I would book the matchup between... That's how I booked my WrestleMania 15. And honestly, I know back then it was called the WWF Championship, not the WWE Championship, but tomato. Anyway, with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining in. What were some of your favorite matches, and what were some matches that you wished could have happened at WrestleMania 15? Again, leave your comments and your likes below. Be sure to also tune in to more days. We are just about to the halfway marker. Thank you so much. You know how to follow me on Twitter. You know how to talk to me on Facebook, YouTube, Spreaker.com, and iHeartRadio. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. I gotta go because my dogs are going absolutely crazy. This is just a nightmare for me. Bye-bye.